Hi, I'm John Pedersen of Pedersen's Band and Orchestra. In today's maintenance segment, we're going to be demonstrating how to clean and lubricate a trombone hand slide. I'm going to be using methods I've used over my years as a repairman, but before we can begin, we have to go over a list of supplies that you will need for the job. To begin, you will need to make your trombone cleaning rags. Old bedsheet material works well for this, and you'll need to make 2 sets of rags, one set 3 inches wide and 20 inches long, and a second set 4 inches wide, 20 inches long. You'll also need a large rag about 1 by 2 foot square. For cleaning the slide, you will need a 1/2 inch tube brush, a trombone slide snake, and your trombone cleaning swab. For your cleaning lubricant, you use WD-40 penetrating oil, and for lubricating the slide, I highly recommend the Yamaha trombone slide oil, and you will also need a spray bottle in which we put distilled water, as the distilled water will not leave hard water deposits on your slide. We begin with the inner slide. The inner slide will quite often have a buildup of corrosion in the mouthpiece receiver and in the bottom of the inner tubes. For cleaning this corrosion, we use our 1/2 inch tube brush. We begin by inserting it in the mouthpiece shank, giving it a twist. Then we turn our tubes over and we insert the brush in the bottom of each tube and give it a scrub out. This will remove all the corrosion. The next step is the swabbing out of the inner tubes. You may remember that we have 2 widths of rags that we use. There's an important reason to use the narrow rag on the inner tube set. Here in the detailed drawing on the inner slide, we have the reason it is necessary to use the narrow rag on the inner slides. Besides just being smaller than the outer tubes, there is something else you need to know. On the upper tube where the mouthpiece goes in, you can see there is a second tube on the inside where the diameter of the opening gets smaller. This is called the venturi tube, and a wider rag would get jammed in this restriction. Now that we understand the reason for using the narrow rag, we start by inserting it in the loop of the swab. We take one end of the rag and push it through the loop, and then we pull it about halfway through like this. Alright, next we apply our WD-40 to the rag. And we take the slide unit and insert the swab in one end, push it all the way through. We take the rag out the other side, turn the slide over, and repeat. Take the rag out. Now that we've completed with our oiled rag, we remove that and install the dry rag. And repeat the procedure. The final step is to take our large rag and wipe off any of the old lubricant. It's important that we have this clean so that we have a fresh surface to apply our new lubricant to. This completes the cleaning of the inner slide assembly. The last step in the cleaning process is the outer slide assembly. We begin by cleaning the bow section of the slide because over time many deposits build up in this part of the horn. To do this, we use the snake, which is a flexible coated shaft with a brush on one end. We begin by inserting it in one of the tubes and pushing it down inside. We continue pushing the snake into the tube until we feel the resistance increase as it starts to go around the bow section. We then remove the snake, turn the slide over, and repeat. And now we have cleaned out the bow section of the slide. We continue now by cleaning the outer tubes by taking our wider rag and placing it through the loop like before, and oiling it like we did before. But before we continue, there's something you need to know about swabbing the outer tubes. Here we can see that the swab will have a metal end exposed as it goes into the outer slide. Alright, now that we know about the exposed metal end, we insert the swab in. We're careful not to hit the bottom as we swab out the inside of the tube. We want to do this vigorously until we feel the slide start to get warm in our hands. Then we take the swab out, we put it in the other side, and we repeat. Same routine, do this until we feel it get warm. Then we take this out, and like the other slide, we switch now to our clean dry rag. Do it one more time. And this will complete the cleaning of the inner and outer slide assemblies. So the final step in this process is the lubrication of the slide. And in order to do this, we need to learn something about the construction of the inner slide. In the close-up here, we notice that there is about a 6-inch long section of the slide that is larger than the rest of the slide. This part is called the stocking and is the only part of the slide that makes contact with the outer slide. Because of this, this is the only section that we apply our primary lubricant to. Using the Yamaha slide oil, we now apply a thin ribbon down the side of each stocking. Then we use our fingers to distribute the oil around the stocking area only. We continue by putting only one inner tube into the outer slide and working it back and forth rapidly to distribute the lubricant. Then we take that tube out, turn it over, and do the same to the other side. Now we move on to our last step of lubricating the slide assembly. For the final assembly of the slide unit, we need to be sure that we assemble the slide correctly. You can see that the slide could be assembled in one of two directions. However, there is only one correct way. If you notice, there is a slide lock on the inner tubes that must engage with the slide lock lug on the outer tubes. Now that we've determined the right direction for the unit to go back together, we insert the inner slide tubes into the outer and work them back and forth. Then we want to lay the slide out on a table and take our distilled water and spray a mist on the slide. Then we want to work it back in. And what will happen is the water will beat up like small ball bearings and give the slide a good action. I recommend you do this full cleaning procedure about once a month, and you want to use the spray mist every time you use the slide. Now after you've done this cleaning and lubrication, if your slide still seems rough or bumpy, it may have dents or an alignment issue that will have to be taken to a repair shop. This wraps up our segment on cleaning and lubricating a trombone hand slide.